Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 275, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph, across most of social media. I will put my screen in here so you can see all the places online that you can find me if you would like to. Okay, so today is Thursday. It is the 22nd of February. I'm a couple days behind in my recording schedule, but it just couldn't be avoided this week, so it actually gave me a couple of extra days to do some extra knitting. And had I recorded on Tuesday, there would be two projects that I'm going to show you today that you wouldn't have seen because I just cast them on in the last couple of days, so it all works out. Well, let me start off by saying hello and welcome to Marianne from Idaho. She introduced herself in the welcome thread on the 90% Knitting board in Ravelry, so welcome, Marianne. It's great to have read your introduction, and if you guys have not introduced yourself in that thread, I would love for you to do so because it's always fun to read who's watching the podcast and, you know, a little bit about you. So feel free, but whether you do that or not, thank you for being here and for taking a little bit of time to watch the podcast today. I hope you see something that is enjoyable for you. Let me tell you what I'm wearing before I forget, because half the time I do. This is the Canopy Shawl. Sorry, my sleeve is weird there. This is the Canopy Shawl by Melody Hoffman from Bee Mandarins. I knit this back in 2015, which is I think the same year she published the pattern. It's a really pretty shawl. I would take it off, but I would not be able to get it back on in this way. If you look at my project page, you can see what it looks like opened up. It's basically a triangular shawl. I knit this out of, this is one of my yarn bases, but I don't carry it anymore. It was a merino bamboo blend. I love the base. I can't remember if my supplier quit carrying, I forget. There was a reason I quit carrying this base. I love merino blend yarns, or I'm sorry, I love bamboo blend yarns because they take the dye in a real soft way. The bamboo just sort of mutes the color a little bit, and I always love that. Plus it just makes a lighter, loftier shawl because the bamboo fiber is lighter than wool. The colorway was Dreamcatcher, which was a club colorway that I had done several years ago. I never repeated it. It was never in the shop. I don't know that I could repeat it at this point. So that was what the main color was. And the edging was just another, it was kind of a one-off skein of the same yarn that I had on hand. But it matched, so I did the edging out of it because I remembered I remember that I did not have enough yarn to do the whole thing in the one color. So anyway, that's what it looks like. Get started because I do have a whole lot of knitting to show you. And I'm going to start off with a finished object. And it's actually the thing that I said should have been a finished object last week, but it wasn't. But it is now. It's my Burr shorty socks. They are complete. So, just plain vanilla socks. Afterthought heel. The main colorway, the stripes are my Burr colorway, B-R-R-R, exclamation point, exclamation point. On my bedazzled base, and then I did the heels and toes out of Aqua Shock, which coordinates with this blue stripe. It was a different dye lot, so you can actually see a little bit of difference there, but it's pretty much the same color. So they are finished. I'm probably not going to wear them right off the bat because I have two shows in March, and I'll probably still be taking my winter colorways to shows in March, so I'll hang on to these and they can be nice and clean and be a sample at the show. Then after that I can wear them. Okay, so that is a finished object, and then the other finished object is one of my hand-spun log cabin squares that I'm doing for the Afghan project that's ongoing, and I showed you that last time. I'm pretty sure this is this. Is this the square I showed you last time? I feel like it is. Maybe it's not, but I think it is. I don't know. One or the other of these I showed you as a finished one last time. And so whichever one you didn't see last time is the one I finished this time. So I have two finished squares, and clearly there is a size difference. But there's a bit of a size difference between a lot of them. So yeah, the purple one is a little bit smaller than the other one. But I'll be able to make up for that when I'm putting them together, and I'll put edgings on them if I need to, whatever. It'll be fine. But I do have another one that I cast on. I didn't get very far on it though, so I didn't bother to bring it to show you, but I enjoy making these. I haven't worked on them too much though since you saw them last, obviously, just because I have other things I want to work on. But those are my 2 finished objects for the week. I do have good progress though on some other projects, so let's move on to my works in progress. And the first one is my arboreal pullover. So I have finished the colorwork yoke, which is very exciting. Let's see if I can find the, okay, where's the front? Here's the front, because you can see my steek stitches here. These are that's where the steek will be. It's obviously not centered, but because of how I have the needles, I can't really do that without risking losing stitches, I don't think. So that's the front. This is the back. The back, you can see, is deeper in the blue part is deeper than the front. That's because there's a lot of short rows worked to make that back stand up more than the front. So I finished the color work, and then you do like 3 short rows, or sets of short rows, and then you take your sleeve stitches off, and then there was another section of short rows, which I hadn't been expecting, and I've not seen that particular construction before, and I wasn't completely understanding why there would be more after you've already taken the sleeves off, but I'm choosing to trust the pattern here, and I just did it. So now I am at the point where I am just working the body in the round in the main color. Again, this is the arboreal. It's the pullover. I'm turning mine into a cardigan because I'm going to steek it. The arboreal is by Jennifer Steingass, and I am knitting this from Cascade 220 Heathers, which is one of my favorite commercial woolly yarns. The blue is mallard, and the neutral color, which looks a little blue, but it's not, it's neutral, is aspen, which is the same color I used for my antler cardigan. So I keep saying that. You hear it every week. I'm on US 6s. Now I did use US 6s throughout the color work. And I thought I might need to go down a needle size once I got to the stockinette, but I don't think I do. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, okay, let me see if I can show this to you on the camera. You can definitely see a tension difference between my color work and my stockinette, right? Like there's actually almost a visible line. Like I can see it anyway. Can you see the like where I stopped? It's definitely tighter up here. And I think that's just because now that I am working in the round in stockinette, my tension can be tighter. I was purposely trying to have a looser tension during the color work. Other color work things I've done, I've used larger needles for the color work, then gone down a needle size when I got to the plain knitting. And that's what I thought I would need to do. But so far this is okay. I have not actually measured my gauge to see if I'm getting gauge that is recommended. But I will soon. My plan at this point is to, okay, here's the ball. This is the second ball of the blue that I'm using. The first ball I used, it ran out like right at the end of the color work, so that was perfect. Actually, right at the end of that first set of short rows. So then I joined the second ball, and I think what I'm planning to do is I'm going to knit the body through this ball of yarn. Once I get to the end of this ball of yarn, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go to the sleeves, and I'm going to knit the sleeves. And I'm probably going to do those concurrently, just because, number one, I feel like things move faster when I do them concurrently, like that sleeve, socks, anything. They always seem to go faster if I'm working on them both at the same time. But also that also will help me make sure they're the same length, and I'll remember what I do, you know, decrease wise and everything more easily. So that's my plan. Plus it's just easier to knit sleeves when you don't have a whole body of a sweater that you have to keep turning around. So I'll finish this ball, I'll do the sleeves, then I'll go back and I'll finish the body. That's my plan. I don't see any reason why that won't work, but we'll see. I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. I did try it on after I got the color work part done, and it seems to be hitting at a really good place. I don't think I have any row gauge issues that are going to make it too tight or too loose or ride up on me. So we'll see. fingers crossed that this is going to turn out to be a wonderful sweater for me. And I can't wait to have it, and I absolutely love this blue. One thing, however, I am going to do before, like once this is done and before I soak it to block it, I'm going to knit a Colorwork swatch out of the blue and the neutral, and I'm going to soak that because I just want to make sure this blue isn't going to do anything wacky, because I do not want to end up with light blue Colorwork. So I just want to make sure this is color fast, because it's a pretty deep blue, and blues can be persnickety about releasing excess dye or residual dye. So we'll see, but I'm very proud of myself for thinking ahead to that, because that's not always something that I would do. And then I'd get to the point where I want to soak my sweater, I'd be like, and then disaster would strike. So, okay. So that is my arboreal. Making good progress on that. I feel good about that. Let's see. What else have I worked on? I did work on a couple pair of socks, but not a whole lot. Nope, not those. So my Flexi Flips experimental socks. I pull them out every once in a while to work on them, but obviously I've not gotten very far. This is West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply. This is the blue tick colorway, so one of their bird colorways. I love the colorway. I just love that patterning. I do not hate the Flexi Flips. I keep saying that. It's such a compliment to the needles, right? It's not that there's anything wrong with them. I'm just still getting used to them because I don't knit regularly with DPNs. I'm used to Magic Loop, and while this is sort of a blend of those two, it's not the same as either. I would actually say it's closer to using DPNs than it is to using Magic Loop, frankly. But I am finally getting used to not dropping my extra needle, because since I knit Magic Loop, once I'm done knitting off the one needle, I usually just let go of it and then, you know, move my stitches around. But when you let go of this, it falls on the floor. So I've gotten to the point where I'm not doing that anymore. So that's a good thing, I guess. But the other thing is, these are US zeros, and wow, this goes so much slower. I know, I feel like I have knit socks on US zeros before. Maybe not though. I don't know. I know it's been my intention to knit socks on US zeros for a while, just to try to get a tighter gauge and a denser fabric. But wow, I mean, the stitch definition is lovely, and it's definitely a nice dense fabric, but what I'm noticing the difference in the most is my row gauge. It feels like it's taking forever for these socks to grow. Now, granted, I'm using these needles, so I'm knitting slower anyway, but it still feels like they should be growing a little bit faster. But they're not. And case in point there, the other pair of socks that's in this fancy, fancy project bag by Ziploc. I needed a bag and it was there. These are also on US zeros. These were my sort of Christmassy socks out of the Arn and Carlos garden colorway. These are also US zeros. Now these I'm doing on Magic Loop, so I don't have the excuse of them being weird needles, but dude, they are also growing really, really slowly. I do love the fabric. The fabric is very nice that I'm getting. I have not measured to compare my stitch gauge on these versus my US ones, which is what I normally do. But yeah, whatever. They're coming along, and it's not like I have any actual desire to get these done real fast. They're just on the needles, and they're basically my stockinette sock that I'm carrying around with me if I need to go and I need something to knit on the fly, which is also why it's in a Ziploc bag, because I wanted like just a nothing bag, even squishier than a regular drawstring bag. So anyway, a little bit of progress has been made on both of those, but not really anything to get too excited about. What else? Oh, okay, so that's everything I worked on that was already on the needles. I have 3 new projects that you've not yet seen, so let's move on to those. And actually, one is socks. No, that's the wrong words, and that's actually the wrong sock bag. Sorry. One project is a pair of socks, and I am knitting them concurrently. because I want to get them done. And I had 2 sets of US 1s sitting around, which is not often the case. And I am doing these on US 1s. These are for a gift. So these are a belated Christmas gift for my daughter's roommate, who I told her I would make her socks for her Christmas gift. So I cast these on, and I've really been got like gangbusters. And I love knitting stripy socks concurrently because there's such an easy stopping point. So these are a pair of my Inversibles. These are on Bedazzled, and this is Peacock and Electric Purple, the color combo. So basically, you know, I cast on, I did the ribbing and the first stripe on one, then I cast on, did the ribbing and the stripe on the other. And so that's how I've been doing it, like a wide stripe and a narrow stripe, then going to the other sock, a wide stripe and a narrow stripe. Actually, somehow I'm ending on wide stripes. I think when I started, I probably did the ribbing and then the narrow stripe and then a wide stripe. Then I went to the other sock. So that's how it's been going. Narrow stripe, wide stripe, switch, narrow stripe, wide stripe, switch, or switch. I'm going to do afterthought heels on these, but I'm going to use the opposite skein to do the afterthought heels because I've seen other people do that with my Inversibles and it looks really cool. So I think that'll be good. I'm probably at about how long I want the cuffs to be. I'm not going to put waist yarn in so it doesn't matter other than to know where I'm going to start measuring from. But yeah, I don't know. I may do one more set of stripes, and that I'm going to put the heel in a wide stripe just because there's not enough rows in the narrow stripe to really make it work out well. So I'll stick it in the middle of a wide stripe and it'll all be good. So these are the socks that I've actually been spending the most time working on just because I do want to get them done and I want to get them to her. And I'm having fun with them. I haven't knit Inversibles in quite a while. So these are a lot of fun. And when these are done, I'm probably going to cast on another pair because my daughter wants a pair. I've never knit her Inversible socks. How weird is that? So I have to rectify that. Okay, so that was one cast on that obviously I did not just cast on in the last couple days. I cast that on probably shortly after I recorded last time. The next cast on, however, I just cast on yesterday. Let's see, which bag is it in? My Pigs in Mud bag by Awesome Granny. Okay, this project is actually related to our next along that is going to be starting on March 1st, which I will talk about in a little bit when I get to the knit alongs. It's going to be shawl related. But this has been a shawl that has been in my queue for a while, ever since it came out, really. This is the Wynne shawl, W-Y-N-N-E, by Sarah Jordan, who is PA Knitwit and a part of our group. And this is what it looks like. Let me show you the picture, not the pattern. So it's a 2-color, all garter stitch shawl with this fun short row color work elements in there. I've seen the sample shawls in person and it's so cool. I love this. If you remember, I have my folder of 2018 patterns that I wanted to work through. This was not actually in the folder, but in my brain it was among the patterns I did want to work on this year. That folder was mostly stuff that had like techniques that I wanted to be using, especially color work. This doesn't particularly have any specific techniques I wanted to use, although I really do like how the motifs are made out of the short rows. I had 4 shawls picked out when I was thinking about what I want to be able to work on during the March-April along, which is going to be shawls. And I narrowed it down to 2, and this is one of them. And my reasoning is it is all garter stitch, and that way it'll be a little bit mindless. Even though I'll have to pay attention to the short rows, it's not a whole lot of thought the way a color work shawl or something would be, because a lot of those other things I had in that folder were a lot of color work and more brain power, and I just don't have that right now. One of the options was the Om shawl by Andrea Mowry, which I really, really do want to make sometime, but number 1, it's huge, and number 2, it's huge. And number 3, yeah, I don't want to work on that right now. It does have color work in it, and I think it's cool because you can turn it into a poncho, and that's really why I want to make it, because I really want to make a poncho sometime, but I just wasn't ready to do that. And then another one that was in my folder that I wanted to make was, I think it's called A Pretty Little Shawl by Rebecca Shepler, who is also a member of our group, and I know her, she's local. It's a very, very pretty lace shawl. And I have the yarn for it and everything. I don't have the mental bandwidth to do that right now. I just do not have the brain power to do that kind of lace right now. And I don't want to start that and get frustrated with it because it's such a pretty project. I really want to be able to focus on it. So I eliminated those two. And the other one that I had in the folder, I don't know, maybe I did have Win in the folder. I don't remember now. But I knew I wanted to do Win. But then I also wanted something that I could put a little bit more thought into. And the other one that I had in the folder was this one by Helen Stewart, the Sonder Shawl, which is just a big triangle basically with eyelet rows and tassels. Seriously, the tassels make me really want to do it. Honestly, that's like the big draw for me. It's a heavier weight shawl. So I am going to do this one as well, but I'm going to do this out of my cozy worsted weight base, and I'm going to dye the yarn for it. And what my plan is I'm going to do all those eyelet sections in the same color throughout the whole shawl, but I'm going to do different colors for all the segments in between. I'm going to just make it fun, and then the tassels will have all those colors in them. And I think it'll be super fun, and it'll be an excellent show sample for me. For my cozy base. So, because I always take cozy semi-solids with me to shows. Even if I don't have anything else in cozy, I always take semi-solids because people like them. So those are the two shawls that I'm going to work on for the March-April knit-along. And as always with the knit-alongs, in progress, works in progress are perfectly welcome. So, okay, getting back to the Win, because I haven't actually shown it to you. I decided to repurpose the yarn that I had cast on originally for the Otter shawl by Kate Davies. If you remember, I cast that on right before Christmas, and then I ended up knitting the Project Peace shawl, which was almost identical in construction, just a heavier yarn. It was very, very similar anyway. But I finished that one, and by the time I was done with it, I thought I have no need to have two shawls that look very similar, even if it would be in a different weight yarn and different colors. So I did frog what I had started of Otter, and I decided immediately to repurpose it for Win. So this is the semi-solid, well, it's actually more of a variegated, but it's a very tonal variegated. That doesn't make any sense, Lisa. It's a tonal yarn. Both of these are from Destination Yarn. So, Destination Yarn. This first one I'm doing for the main color is her letter base, which is 100% superwash merino. And this is the Harvest Moon colorway, which I'm really fascinated by because this is not what I think of when I think of Harvest Moon. So the next time I see her, I'm going to have to ask her about that, how this is Harvest Moon. I mean, it's pretty. I love it. It's this deep night blue and black in there. It's really pretty. And then those wave sections, the contrasting, will be in what I had started the Otter out of, which is November Witch. And that is on her first class MCN base, which is MCN. A basic 80-10-10 MCN. So what I have so far is this. And I just cast this on yesterday. This is actually the front. Not that it matters because it pretty much looks the same on the front and the back. You just do different increases, so I have to know which is which. So, isn't that pretty? I just love those subtle variations in there. I am changing this pattern up a little bit. I wrote to Sarah, I texted her and I said, hey, I want to make Win, but I don't want it to be quite as big as it's written, because it's written to be like 90 inches in the wingspan, and I don't want it to be 90 inches. I said, I want it more like around 65-ish, you know. She's like, oh, sure, you can modify it, do whatever. So basically, I did the math, and I'm going to make it like 75% of the size. So I did the math to eliminate 25% worth of the length stitches in everything. And I think that's right. I think that'll work out okay for me. I read through the pattern finally, because I don't always do that before I start. But when you're going to modify a pattern, it's always good to read ahead. I read through the pattern, and it looks like it's a fairly forgiving pattern as far as being able to do modifications. So I'm not too worried. I don't think I'm going to mess it up greatly. I don't think Sarah will yell at me. I hope not. Anyway, the only other thing I'm changing, and I'm totally just doing this out of laziness, is the pattern calls for doing make ones as the increases. I'm doing knit fronts and backs. Again, lazy, and the fact that it's garter stitch, so you're really not going to see much of a difference, I don't think. I have nothing against make ones. I actually like doing make ones, and, you know, make one lefts, make one rights, the directional ones. I have no problem doing those. Again, sheer laziness, and it looks fine to me, so I'm not worried about it. But I do like it so far. It's fun, and again, it's mindless. I can sit and I can do it. Very memorizable at the beginning, and I can't wait to start making my short row contrast sections. They're going to be so much fun. So that was a cast on. And then this morning, I cast on yet another project, which this has been waiting in the wings to be cast on. And this is in another Bags by Awesome Granny bag, which so was this one. My Arboreal has been living in the Foxes and Soxes bag. I just love Darlene's bags. You guys know that. I talk about them all the time. Anyway, I love this one. It's like the Matryoshka doll, Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know, maybe not Matryoshka dolls. They kind of look like that, though. And those little Russian houses. So cute. And the wolf and the owl. I like how the wolf has the salt and pepper shakers there. Anyway. Okay, so I finally cast on, can't show you that, my first mitten garland advent calendar mitten. Let me get to the front page that I can show you. There we go. So these are by, where's her name? I have it somewhere. I think it's Kathy Lewinsky. Sorry. Yeah, Kathy Lewinsky. And it's 24 different charts for these cute little advent mittens that I think are the most adorable things in the world. Aside from kittens. No, I don't know. They're just so cute. They're really cute mittens. And this goes right along with my theme of wanting to do colorwork mittens this year. These are just nice and tiny. So I started the first one. I didn't get very far because, like I said, I just started it this morning. And there's lots of ends already, but that's okay. So here's the first one. And you can see the number 1 there, which sort of looks like a bird's head. They all start with a Latvian braid. I have done Latvian braids before. My Latvian braid skills are a little rusty, and I also will say that I did not read the directions correctly, so I cast on and then I knit around, then I started doing the Latvian braid. You weren't actually supposed to knit that round. You were supposed to go right into the Latvian braid. I didn't, so I don't care. I wasn't ripping it out. It's an ornament. So anyway, but it's fun, and I'm using tuku wool. I'm finally getting to play with the tuku wool that I bought. So this is from Finland, and this is what the label looks like. This is their fingering. They have a fingering and they have a sock. The sock has nylon in it. The fingering does not, and there's more yardage, I believe, in the fingering than in the sock, if I remember correctly. Yes, it's 100% Finnish wool. And I'm using 3 different, I bought 2 skeins each of 3 different colors, which will be the colors I'll mainly use for these mittens. I bought a red, a gray, and a white. The color names are just very bizarre, so I'm not even going to try to tell you, but they are all on my project page if you would like. They're not bizarre, they're just in Finnish. It does not make, I'm sure that's what the language is. But all that information is on my project page if you want to know. Some of the mittens also call for like some green and some neutral, and I have a lot of Jamieson and Smith 2-ply fingering that I'm going to use for those colors. But since the majority of the mittens had the red and the white and the light gray, I did buy yarn specifically for those. So I really like the tuku wool. It's a nice woolly wool. Again, you know, it's not, let's see, I just finished my Hero cardigan, and that was a very woolly wool, but that's a singles. This is plied. But this stuff does stick to itself. Like when you join in a new color, you don't even really have to loop the yarn around the working color to keep it there. It just stays. So it's very nice. And also being an ornament type item, I'm not really worrying too much about catching my floats super close. Not the way I would if it was going to be a garment that I was wearing. So I'm letting them go like 4 stitches. Usually I would, if it's more than a 3-stitch float, I would catch it on the 3rd stitch. But I'm letting them go up to like 4 on this one. So it's fine. But I love it. I love the wool. I love woolly wool. It makes me happy. And I was going to mention, if you guys, especially those of you who are taking part in the conversation in the Who Wants to Knit Color Work With Me thread in the Ravelry group, or anybody who's interested in color work, there is an excellent podcast out by Paper Tiger, who is Diana Walla. She's a designer on Ravelry, and she has started recording podcast episodes. She's only got a handful out. She does not record regularly, but 2 that I would really, really recommend to you are the following. She's got one on knitting stranded color work, and it's basically a Q&A format. Really, really informative. Now, I've done color work for a while. I'm not an expert at it by any means, but I watched that episode and it was very informative. She does an excellent job of explaining color dominance and how to achieve it. She does a really excellent job of showing, like she actually does little tutorial bits showing how to do the 2-color stranded knitting, either both colors in one hand, them in 2 different hands, both colors depending on which hand you use. Really informative. I would definitely recommend that video. Go watch that. Even if you've been doing color work, you'll come away with something. She's very knowledgeable. And she designs beautiful color work sweaters too. And then the other video she recently did that's sort of related to this, for in my mind it is one on Norwegian wools and what the big deal is about it. She lived in Norway for a couple of years and she's very into Norwegian wool. And so that was a very informative video as well, because I'm enjoying Norwegian wool, which I'll be talking about in a little bit as well. But I'm enjoying woolly wools, I guess I should say more specifically. But anyway, check out her videos. Really good. I can't wait to see what other ones she comes out with. I'm having tea today. It's just one of my favorites, my Raspberry Royale by Bigelow. So, nothing fancy about my mug either. It's just plain white mug. I don't know. I love these mugs for tea. I don't know why. Okay. That was kind of a tangent, but I was going to actually talk about those videos later on, so I just put it in earlier. Let's move on. I think that's everything that I've knit on, which is probably good. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention. So do you remember back when I was talking about my folder full of patterns that I wanted to work on this year or draw from this year? There were a lot of color work mittens, like actual human-sized adult color work mittens in there that I thought I would like to do, and my mindset was that I would work on them throughout the year and have them to give to some friends as gifts at the end of the year. Well, I kind of started rethinking that, not because I don't want to make them for them, but because everybody's got different sized hands, and quite honestly, I've knit socks for them before, but I have no idea how to knit for their hands. And since it's color work, it's not the same as like, oh, that mitten doesn't fit you here, let me just rip out the fingers and I can make it longer. No, you can't really do that with the color work mitten. So I don't want to have that be the case. So then, sorry, my phone rang. I forgot that I had the sound on it, so I had to deal with that. Anyway, where was I? Oh, I was talking about the gifts. So I had kind of decided maybe I should not make the color work gifts for my girlfriends. Instead, I thought what I would do is maybe I'd make just a couple pairs of mitts, but then I could also, or mittens, that's the thing. If they were mitts, it wouldn't be a big deal, but these are mittens with actual fingers closed. And then I could also do maybe a couple of hats, a couple of cowls, a couple of pairs of socks or whatever, put it all in a basket, and then when we do our big Christmas get together that we do, big, it's 4 of us, but it's four, gosh, the 4 of us, I could just bring the whole basket and say, take what you want and let them pick. I thought that would be kind of fun, and if they wanted more than one thing, they could have it because they're gift, it's gift knitting. So I thought about doing that, and that's still a possibility because that would give me the option to knit lots and lots of fun things without actually having to think I need to wear them. But then I also had another thought about these little Advent mittens that I want to make for myself. I want to do that garland, but I thought, wouldn't it be cute to knit a pair of those, like to do the thumbs on either side, so that would be 2 mittens the same. I'd leave the numbers off, but I could pick maybe like a few different designs, and I could knit the pair in the small size and then knit like I-cord to join them. You know how the little kids' mittens are knit that way, so, or joined that way so they can go through the arms of their coat and they don't lose them. I could do that, and I could knit them in colors specific to what I know my friends like, and each set would be different. Plus it would have a different design. And then I could fill the mittens with like cute little gifts, like little tea bags or lip balms or whatever. And they could each have like a little ornamental kind of set of mittens. Might be big to put on a tree, but actually I don't know that any of them put up a tree. They're all single. I know the one girlfriend does not put up a tree. You could hang them anywhere. I don't know. What do you think? Don't you think that would be kind of a cute idea? I really like that idea. So it would be more little mini mitten knitting, but I don't think it would be undoable. No worse than knitting lots of big pairs of mittens. And then I would know they would enjoy them because they could use them every year and hang them up. And I mean, they all decorate for Christmas. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I kind of like that idea. So, okay. Let me get back to my show notes here. Spinning, I did actually start a new spinning project, but I've made virtually no progress on it, so I'm not even going to talk about it this week. Stay tuned for that later. So let's move on to the alongs. Excuse me. January and February along, which was the finish, frog, repair, or repurpose along. Still going, but only till next week when February is over. So then I'll be closing. I won't be closing that thread. It just won't be stickied at the top anymore. And I'm probably not going to talk about it anymore after that. But please continue to post in there. I'm really enjoying the conversations we're having in all of these along threads, as well as the other threads that we've got going on, like the colorwork thread and the keep the conversation going thread. That one I'm behind on because you guys are chatty and I love that, but I haven't had a chance to read everything. But yeah, I love seeing what you're doing. And at the end of February, so, well, I'm not sure if it'll be the next time. I guess it depends on when I record next week. But the next regular episode that I record after the end of February, I will draw 2 more winners from that along thread, just like I did at the end of January. So go ahead and keep posting in there. Nothing has to be finished. Just your works in progress are fine, whatever. I'm especially interested in seeing your repurposing projects because that's been where my head's been with a lot of stuff lately. So that was January, February. The February-March one is the hand spun along. And that's where you're either spinning your own hand spun, knitting from your own hand spun, knitting with somebody else's hand spun, whatever you want to do. So that's running through the end of March. So go ahead and keep on spinning and doing things with hand spun. That would be fun. And then moving on to March, since March is coming up, I wanted to give you a heads up about it. The March-April along is going to be called Shall We? Except it's not shall, it's shawl. So shall we? I know, I'm weird. Whatever, it's play on words. So it's all about shawls. I have not knit a shawl. I think the last shawl that I finished was that Project Peace shawl. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think which ones I've done. Hang on. I know, I'm leaning over into this, but this is where my computer is. Sorry. There's just no good way to do this. But hey, the camera's awesome, right? And that's how I have to have it set up. Yes, the project piece shawl was the last shawl I finished, and I finished that in January. So I have not knit on any shawls since then, and I was feeling the urge. So that's why I started the Win, and I'm going to do the Sonder shawl. But I would love to see you guys knitting shawls and what you're knitting. I know several people have already chimed into that thread. I've got a thread up about it already, so feel free to start posting in there. Again, works in progress are quite welcome. I know somebody posted that she has a shawl that she needs to finish for her son's wedding, or her daughter's wedding, a child's wedding coming up soon. So she's working on that. Yeah, so please post about your shawls. I love shawl knitting. I've got so many shawls, and I'm trying to wear more of them because I often just have like wraps or shawls sitting out on chairs, and I wear the same ones all the time. So I'm trying to get more use out of these things because you put a lot of time into a shawl, generally speaking. Let's see. Trying to get my camera screen back. Oh. All right. I've really got to figure out a better setup to put my computer closer so I don't have to lean in and be out of the screen. Anyway, yeah, let me know. I would love to know what shawls you're working on or what shawls you might want to work on. Are you interested in doing any of the super huge shawls? I mean, I know the Find Your Fade has kind of, I think it's sort of faded. That was a big trend last year, but like, I know there's lots of others really big shawls out there. I'd love to just hear what you want to work on. So go ahead and post that. Next, I have new things. And I think I alluded to this last week that I had placed yet another order with the Loopy U. Not the Loopy U, I'm sorry. The Woolly Thistle. I was on the Loopy U website this morning. That's why that was in my brain. Yeah. Claire is starting to carry a Rama garn, which is a Norwegian wool. And I just had to try it because I've heard a lot about it. So this is the Fennel garn from Rama, which is a fingering weight yarn. And again, it is the woolly yarn. It is fabulous. I have not knit anything with it yet, but it is just lovely. And it's a 2-ply, and it's 100% Ren-Nai-Yul, which I know is wool. I don't really know what that means. The video that I was just talking about, by Diana Walla, Paper Tiger, she does talk about Rama wool and the different wools that they have. And it's really interesting because she talks about the 3 main types of sheep that are in Norway and the ones that each company tends to use. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, this is one of them. I actually bought 5 because I'm seeing some sort of colorwork something here. I just don't know what. And this yellow on the bottom is actually much brighter than that's showing up on the screen. But look at these colors. Oh my gosh. I love, love, love these colors. I was having the hardest time picking colors. This is a very affordable wool, by the way. And it is approximately how many yards? Well, it's 175 meters. So I could do the math, but I'm not going to. It's close to 200 yards, probably. 195, somewhere around there. Anyway, I knew I wanted to do color work with this. I don't know what. I've never done a color work, a fingering weight sweater. This thought of it scares me, but I think this would be beautiful for that. So I don't know. And obviously I'd need to get more for the main color, but I love these colors together. They're happy. And it was funny, I couldn't decide. And so I wrote to Claire at the Woolly Thistle, and I said, hey, I'm looking at the Fennel garn, and I said, I know I want these 3 colors, because I had 3 that I definitely wanted. I said, but I'm not sure which other 2 to put with it. I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this, and oh my gosh, her her customer service is ridiculously wonderful. I just have to say that. She wrote back. She had taken pictures of all the combinations that I mentioned. She must have sent me at least 4 or 5 pictures with all these combinations of yarn colors for me to look at and make my choices. I mean, you can't get better service than that. I mean, it's online. It's hard to pick yarn colors online. I know that. It's hard as a dyer to make sure I'm taking pictures that are truly as representative of the colors as I can get them so that you guys can pick them well. But oh my gosh, I was so thrilled that she did that, and it was so wonderful of her. So that made my choices so much easier. And I cannot recommend Claire's shop enough. She's just she's a lovely person, and her store is wonderful. So anyway, Fennel Garn, these are the 5 colors I ended up with. There was one other brown that I was thinking about and I didn't get it, and now I'm kind of wishing I did, so I may end up ordering that. I probably should have ordered it this morning because I did place an order, but only for 1 set of needles. I needed a pair of needles because I need a longer set of US 5s for that wind shawl. I only have a 32 inch. I need a 40. So I placed an order with her for that. Anyway, yeah, that's all my new stuff. I don't need any more new stuff. But Claire continues to provide lovely things that are hard to resist. Okay, moving on to 10%. The kitchen project continues. Painting got done. That was basically last weekend. My kitchen is attached to the dining room, which kind of merges into the hallway, and so I had to do all 3 of those. I got the ceilings painted and I got the walls painted in the dining room and hallway all last weekend. So that was fabulous. And then I did put a coat of primer in the kitchen on Sunday before we left. And then Tuesday I went to my house earlier in the day than I normally would, which is why I did not get to record on Tuesday. And I painted the wall color on Tuesday. So all of the painting is finished, which means we can start putting the floor in this weekend. Now, the other exciting thing about my house is, you know, my whole goal was to have the house ready to put on the market by April sometime. However, I've had a prospective buyer come up completely out of the blue who is extremely interested in my house. And I can't say too much about it. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's actually someone who I've known for quite a long time who lives locally in that area, so they're aware of the house, they know the house. And if everything goes really well, it looks like I may be selling the house prior to when I even plan to have it on the market. Which is fabulous on one hand, and it's actually, if this person ends up buying it, it will be wonderful for both of us. It would be like the best case scenario. I could not have imagined a better scenario. However, that also means that my whole timeline for not only having things finished in the house, but for being able to have my stuff all moved out of the house is accelerated exponentially. And that's frightening because I have a lot of shows coming up that I need to also be dying for. And like, I don't have a normal job where I can just say, okay, I'm going to take a couple weeks vacation. Somebody else can fill in for me. Nobody else dyes the yarn if I'm not working. So it's like, I can't take time off work to pack up my house. So this is all going to be very interesting. I'm sorry, I've got like fuzzy things in my nose now. Yeah, I'm trying not to stress about it because honestly, all of this seems to be falling into place without, like I couldn't have planned this. And if this all works out well, I will be so thankful. I mean, it's not like I'm desperate to sell my house. I want to sell my house because I don't need 2 houses. So it's not like I'm like, oh, yes, it's going to happen. And, you know, I mean, I am happy that it might happen, but the fact that it's going to happen sooner, you know, provides a lot of perks on both sides, but it's also going to be a whole lot more work that I have to get done. And it's stressing me out, I have to say. I'm trying not to be stressed about it, but it is stressing me out. My stomach is kind of in knots a lot. So anyway, that's on the horizon, and that is probably, depending on where this goes, and I probably should know more after this weekend, it's going to affect a lot of things, and it's definitely going to affect my priorities as far as what I can get done and when. which will also filter into the shop, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a few minutes. But anyway, it may also affect my recording schedule, so just so you know, please, I hope you can understand that. I'll still record as I can, but it may not be as regularly just because of all this other stuff going on that I wasn't expecting that I need to take care of. So there's that. Also a cat update. I will tell you Polly, who is our sick cat, is doing quite well. The vet has given him a steroid to take orally. We mix it in with his food, and that should be helping him stay kind of perky and good. But he's doing really well. He's acting like his old self, and so fingers crossed we'll be able to get him to be okay for quite a while. Babette has learned how to get down off of the loft, the platform up there, so yay, we don't have to keep rescuing her. And finally, cat-wise, you know, I know you guys can see cats come across here occasionally, and somebody asked me about the cat that we went through last week, which is our big, fluffy, white and black cat. That is Kit Kat. You don't usually see him. He's our cat that used to stay outside, and I think I maybe talked about this before, but he's been inside now ever since late fall when our other cat died. Apparently he just didn't like her. But he was the one who was walking through the screen last week, and you could see him through the door there. So they all make appearances now and then. Yeah, so that's it with 10%. So moving into shop news. This will be sort of quick because there will not be a shop update this week. Originally, I said there would be. I was going to try to do a restock of the game colorways that I had last week. Thank you, by the way, for your enthusiasm over those colorways. There's still some in the shop from last week, but some of the different yarn bases have sold out. So I am working on those, but again, everything I'm trying to juggle right now just has made me push this update back to next week. So it will be next Friday, March 2nd at 6 p.m., not tomorrow. So I apologize for the delay, but it's unavoidable. I will say that will probably be the last regular update I do until late March. And again, everything is kind of up in the air right now because of, you know, stuff changing with my house situation, and me needing to, you know, reallocate time to other projects. But I have shows coming up that are a top priority to die for. I have my club to die for, which I'm working on today, and that is going to ship out by next Wednesday, which is the 28th. So if you're in the Happy Hour Yarn Club, you'll be getting your yarn late next week. And I have a wholesale order. I have a really big wholesale order I need to get out. I'm not doing a lot of wholesale orders right now, but I've got a really big wholesale order and then a smaller wholesale order that all have to go out right around the same time that I'm doing these shows. So lots and lots of dyeing, and unfortunately when I have all those things going on, it's the shop that ends up kind of having to take a little bit of a break. But I'm always open to special orders, and I'm trying to keep things in the shop, you know, like little kind of mini updates, if you will. I will put things in the shop as I can. And honestly, the best way to stay abreast of what will be going in the shop is to be either watching the Ravelry group, the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group, in the restock thread and the update thread. Follow the Fiber Nymph Dye Works account on Instagram, and follow the Facebook page, on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Facebook page. Those are the three best places to stay up on what's going on in the shop, other than just checking the shop occasionally. I will say, since, you know, everything that's going on might impact my my recording schedule, if I can't record when I'm putting things up, I will at least still try to stay active as I can. As active as I can on social media. So, and Instagram tends to be where I'm most active, both my personal account and the Fiber Nymph Dye Works account. So I would say check in with me there. And if you need to get a hold of me directly about anything, email is always the best way to do that. fibernymph@gmail.com. That's the way you're assured to get a response. responses other places are a little more iffy, but those are the ways you definitely can get a hold of me. So anyway, let me tell you, or remind you, I guess, of the shows that I have coming up in the immediate future. My March shows, the first one, and I think when I told you about this before, I may have told you the wrong date. So let me tell you the correct date. It's Sunday, March 18th from 12 to 5. It's the Homespun Yarn Party, which is a new show for me. I'm super excited about it, and that's down in Savage, Maryland. And then the following Saturday, which is March 24th, is Indie Knit and Spin here in Pittsburgh, which will be Saturday the 24th, 10 to 5. I'm pretty sure those are the hours. We're in a new location this time. It's the Ace Hotel in East Liberty, rather than the location we've been at in Edgewood. So that should be really fun. We'll all be in one big room from what I understand, rather than in separate rooms throughout the building like the old location. So I hope to see you there. I've got other shows coming up this spring, which I will tell you about as they get closer. A bird just kept trying to fly into a window multiple times. Anyway, so those are coming up, and the only other thing I just want to keep reminding you about is the conversion rewards program that's going on all year in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. You can convert the grams of Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn and fiber that you are using in your projects, your exclusive Fiber Nymph Dye Works projects this year. Keep track of it, post your projects in the finished objects thread along with the information that's requested, and you can earn new yarn as you reach certain milestones, which you have to get up to 500 grams to get your first one, so your first reward. Anyway, that's everything for this week. I need to get this edited so that I can go downstairs to the studio and start dyeing today. Thank you for your patience in my delayed recording today, and I will thank you for your patience in advance, as things might be a little wonky with my schedule in the coming couple of months. But I'll still be here, honest. That's everything. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.